Imagine waking up tomorrow and finding out that the political chaos in Washington isn't just another headline. It's something that could ripple into your job, your retirement account, your grocery bill, and the future your kids are counting on. That's exactly why this story matters. Because when powerful people start scrambling over secrets, investigations, and political damage control, it doesn't stay inside the marble walls of Congress. It spills into the real world, your world. The markets react, policies stall, government spending shifts, and suddenly, the stress you feel at the checkout line or when you open your utility bill is tied to decisions being made behind closed doors. Right now, a political twist involving Republicans and the long running Epstein file controversy is sending shockwaves through Washington. And here's the part nobody expected. In their rush to score political points, some Republican figures may have triggered consequences that could land squarely on Donald Trump himself. It's the kind of backfire that turns allies into liabilities overnight. And when that happens at the top of the political food chain, the fallout spreads fast. You deserve to know what's really happening, because it's not just gossip or political drama. These stories influence elections. Elections shape policies. Policies shape taxes, benefits, and the cost of living. So when a political move accidentally puts a former president in the spotlight of a controversial investigation, it's not just a Washington problem. It becomes your problem, your family's problem, and your wallet's problem. And what unfolded this week is the kind of political misstep that could change the entire narrative heading into the next election cycle. The Epstein files. Why they never go away for years. The Epstein files have hovered over American politics like a storm cloud that refuses to pass. Every few months, new details, new court documents, or new investigations bring the story back into the spotlight. And each time, powerful names get dragged into the conversation. That's why the topic is so politically explosive. It doesn't matter which party you support. Once these files resurface, everyone starts looking over their shoulder. The Epstein case has always been more than just a criminal investigation. It represents something deeper. The fear that the rich and powerful operate under a different set of rules. For many Americans struggling with rising costs, housing prices, and shrinking paychecks, the idea that elites might escape consequences hits a nerve. It creates anger, distrust, and a sense that the system isn't built for people like you. And that's why politicians on both sides have tried to weaponize the issue. They use it to attack opponents, score headlines, and energize their base. But playing with a story this volatile is like lighting a match near a gas tank. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the explosion can hit your own side. That's exactly what may have happened this time. Instead of damaging their political enemies, certain Republican efforts to push the Epstein story back into the spotlight may have opened doors that lead right back to Trump himself. And once that door opens, it's almost impossible to close. The political strategy that backfired. In politics, timing is everything. A well-placed investigation or a carefully timed revelation can shape the news cycle for weeks, but a poorly planned move can boomerang in ways nobody expected. According to the unfolding situation, some Republicans pushed aggressively for the release or discussion of Epstein-related material, believing it would hurt political opponents. The strategy seemed simple on the surface. Remind voters of scandal, tie it to the other side, and let the headlines do the work. But politics is rarely that predictable. When the conversation shifted toward the broader list of associations and past connections, the spotlight didn't stay where they wanted it. Instead, it began drifting toward Trump. That's where the oops moment comes in. Because once the topic started trending, journalists, investigators, and political opponents didn't just focus on one side. They started examining every possible connection, every photo, every past social interaction. And suddenly, what was supposed to be an attack turned into a potential vulnerability. For voters, this kind of miscalculation matters. Political instability affects everything from stock market confidence to government funding debates. When leaders are distracted by scandal or damage control, important issues, like inflation, taxes, and benefits, get pushed to the back burner. And when Washington is distracted, you're the one left dealing with the consequences at the gas pump, at the pharmacy, and at the kitchen table. Trump's long shadow over the story. Donald Trump has always been a dominant figure in American politics. Whether you support him or oppose him, there's no denying that his presence shapes the national conversation. So, when a controversy even hints at his name, it becomes front-page news instantly. Over the years, Trump has been mentioned in discussions related to Epstein, mostly through past social connections and public records. Supporters argue there's no wrongdoing proven against him. Critics say the associations deserve scrutiny. But regardless of where you stand, the political reality is simple. Any connection becomes a weapon in the hands of opponents. That's why this latest twist is so dangerous politically. If the Epstein conversation intensifies again, Trump's opponents will seize the opportunity to keep his name tied to the story. And in the world of politics, perception can be just as powerful as proof. For everyday Americans, this kind of political warfare creates uncertainty. Uncertainty leads to market jitters. Market jitters affect retirement accounts, home values, and job stability. So even though the headlines might seem like distant political drama, the ripple effects can land directly in your bank account. The media storm begins. Once the story started gaining traction, media outlets jumped in immediately. Cable news panels, online commentators, and political influencers all began dissecting the situation. The narrative shifted from investigation to political fallout almost overnight. And here's where things move fast. In today's media environment, a single viral headline can dominate the national conversation for days. When that headline involves Trump and Epstein in the same sentence, it becomes political dynamite. For viewers like you, the constant media frenzy can feel overwhelming. One day it's inflation, the next day it's investigations, and the day after that it's election drama. But all of it is connected. Because the more time politicians spend fighting scandals, the less time they spend working on policies that could lower your bills or increase your benefits. The media storm also creates pressure inside political parties. Leaders start worrying about optics, polling numbers, and damage control. And when that happens, alliances shift, strategies change, and the political landscape becomes unpredictable. Republican infighting behind the scenes. Inside the Republican Party, stories like this can create serious tension. Different factions have different priorities. Some want to focus on investigations. Others want to keep the spotlight on economic issues. And when a strategy backfires, the blame game begins. Reports suggest that some party insiders are frustrated. They believe the Epstein narrative would target political rivals. Instead, it may have complicated Trump's position. And when Trump's position becomes complicated, the entire party feels the pressure, because his influence over Republican voters remains enormous. This kind of internal conflict can slow down legislative efforts, it can derail negotiations, and it can make it harder for the party to present a united message to voters. For Americans watching from home, that means more political gridlock and fewer concrete solutions. When Washington is stuck in infighting, everyday issues like healthcare costs, housing affordability, and tax relief often get delayed, and that delay shows up in your monthly expenses. How this could impact the 2026 election cycle. Looking ahead, this controversy could shape the political battlefield in a major way. Elections are often decided by a few key narratives. And if the Epstein story becomes one of those narratives again, it could influence voter perception across the country. Opponents of Trump will likely use the issue to question his leadership and judgment. Supporters will argue it's a political smear or distraction. But regardless of which argument wins, the conversation itself could dominate the campaign trail. And when campaigns focus on scandals instead of policies, voters like you are left with fewer answers about the issues that matter most, like Social Security, healthcare, taxes, and job growth. The stakes are high because the outcome of future elections will determine which policies shape your financial future. That's why even a political misstep today can have consequences that reach into your wallet tomorrow. The financial ripple effect. Whenever political turmoil intensifies, financial markets pay attention. Investors hate uncertainty. Businesses delay decisions. And consumer confidence can drop. If this controversy escalates, it could create more political volatility. And volatility can affect everything from stock prices to interest rates. That means your retirement savings, your mortgage rate, or your credit card interest could all feel the impact. Government spending decisions can also be influenced by political drama. When leaders are focused on investigations and scandals, budget negotiations can become more chaotic. And chaotic budgets often lead to shutdown threats, delayed benefits, or sudden policy changes. For millions of Americans, that translates into real-life stress. It means worrying about whether your benefits will arrive on time, whether your taxes will go up, or whether your job will remain stable. What happens next right now? The situation is still unfolding. Investigations, media reports, and political reactions are evolving by the day. What looks like a small political misstep today could become a major campaign issue tomorrow. Trump's team will likely work to control the narrative and shift attention back to economic issues or other political priorities. Meanwhile, opponents will push the Epstein angle as hard as possible. The next few weeks could determine whether this story fades away or explodes into a major national controversy. And that uncertainty is exactly why it's important for Americans to stay informed. Because when political stories evolve quickly, the policies that affect your life can change just as fast. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Trump, Republicans, or any single political figure. It's about the direction of the country and how political chaos can shape your financial reality. When scandals dominate Washington, real-world issues often get ignored. And when those issues get ignored, families like yours pay the price: higher costs, delayed benefits, uncertain job markets. That's why staying informed isn't just a political choice, it's a financial one. The more you understand what's happening behind the headlines, the better prepared you are to protect your family and your future. Because in today's world, the decisions made in Washington don't stay in Washington. They travel straight into your paycheck, your savings, and your everyday life. So keep watching, keep learning, and stay alert. The next update in this story could arrive at any moment, and it could shape the policies that decide what's in your wallet next year.